people, we are here. That's right. I am a returning coach for the UNPL Season 4, and we're going to be doing the draft analysis for the Demolition Force. So, this team, I had a lot to prove last season, and I feel like we did pretty good. We got Iron Leaves, we beat the fraud allegations, and we made it all the way to the semifinals after starting the season off 0-3. We made a huge comeback, and I feel pretty good about that. So in this league, I wasn't gonna try. I mean, I definitely wanted to get some of the newer Pokemon that were at it, but I didn't necessarily want to go too try hard, top heavy. I wanted to go back to my. I want to get every single type of Pokemon, all 18 types, and you know what? I want to optimally get 12 Pokemon. I know that a lot of folks like to kind of cut it off at the minimum that they need, and that's fine. But for me, I like to have diversity and kind of have like a Swiss Army knife, which I know is kind of what I tried to do last season. But this season, I want to even do it better. So let's get into it. So starting us off, we have Keldeo for pick number 1. And I thought, well, Keldeo is that nice solid water fighting typing once again. Great offensive typing, as well as defensively pretty decent. High special attack and great speed with 108 speed. Not the fastest thing in the world, but it outspeed a lot of things. A lot of those base 90s and 100s that are all over draft. For instance, like Urshifu and things like that. It can resist a lot of hits. Its justified ability isn't really going to be useful per se, but some notable things it has is like Calm Mind and Vacuum Wave, which it has now. Didn't have before, so having, you guys know me. I love my priority moves. It has Aqua Jet too, but probably not going to be clicking that unless I absolutely have to. Either way, this is a solid first pick for me. And from there, I was like, well, gouging pretty much all of the Paradox Pokemon that I wanted to get were taken, but there was one left that I could get, and that's right, I got Iron Crown. Going with the Swords of Justice, because we were able to use Iron Leaves last time. We could retire it. So now this time I'm going to be using the other one. So we have Iron Crown with a pretty solid special attack stat, as well as look at those 90, 100, 108 defenses. Very defensive. And it's not that slow either. 98 speed, I believe, is like right there with Urshifu, rapid. So decently fast. Steel Psychic isn't that great of typing. It's good on Bronzong because it has Levitate, but without that, it's not the best. So it's basically like a fast special attacking Metagross. But this thing has a lot of cool things in its toolkit. Iron Defense, Calm Mind, Stored Power, Expanding Force. I know me, I love Expanding Force. And its move, Tachyon Cutter, however you say it, is a 2-hit move. So that'll be great for things like Mimikyu that we need to, or for Focus Sashes or things like that. We can get around it. And it's 100% accurate. Not only that, it bypasses accuracy, so that's great. If I wanted to ever set up with this thing and just use spam Tachyon Cutter, I don't have to worry about getting rocks up necessarily for Focus Sashes, so that's great. Speaking of Stealth Rocks, let's get into our third pick with Crocodile. Now, Crocodile is one of my favorites that I started to use. This team is kind of, at a certain point, I just started drafting some of my favorite Pokemon, I could have gotten Tinglu. I wanted a ground Dark, and I was leaning towards Tinglu, but I was like, well, I picked Tinglu in the Battle Hub Draft League Season 1, and I picked it in UNPL Season 3. So I really want to use Tinglu again. I was fine with using Tinglu, but I figured people would get annoyed with me using Tinglu, and I wanted to diversify. I was like, well, Intimidate is a solid ability, and not only that, it actually has other abilities like Moxie. I don't know how much I use Anger Point, but that could be pretty cool versus like an Urshifu or Urshifu single if I wanted to face that. 92 speed is solid. I can run Scarf Moxie. I can run defensive with this thing. 95 HP is not bad. And 117 attack with ground moves like Earthquake and also Knockoff. It's also my Stealth Rocker. It has Close Combat. It has Gunk Shot. Lots of great moves. 14 points was a lot for this thing, relatively, I thought. I was like, but you know what? It's worth it. So Crook is also one of my favorite Pokemon. I used to run this thing all the time back in X and Y with Moxie. get some Choice Scarf Moxie sweeps off. So I figured for the nostalgia, I would pick Crook. So let's get into our next pick. Lycanroc Dusk. I've wanted to draft this thing in draft for so long. I got it in the CBN in the VGC League, but now I've got it in freaking singles, baby. Let's go. I've wanted to use this thing. I've had to settle for Lycanroc Midday. Lycanroc Midday with Rock Terra wasn't too bad in BHDL Season 1, but with this thing, with its tough claws, Accelerock, man, oof, we're going to be hitting hard. Obviously, we can't Terra this thing because it's going to be too many points. But base 110 speed, base 117 attack. I needed some more over 100 speed Pokemon, so this will be great for that. It's also an alternative rocker. I learned last season in BHDL, you need to have more than one rocker because you never know. Maybe you can't bring one week. And it also keeps them guessing what you're going to bring. You're not pigeonholed into one. Also has Psychic Fangs for screens. Has Crunch. Has a lot of good moves that can be boosted by Tough Claws. And yeah, overall, Lycanroc Dust, I'm glad I'm going to finally get to use this thing. Next up, we have Sylveon, another one of my favorite Pokemon. I loved this thing all the time back in Gen 6. Let me tell you what, I was going through my Attack on Titan phase at the time, right? Like that was like the first anime I watched, and I had my Crocodile named Captain Levi and my Sylveon named Commander Pixies. And then I had like Commander Pixies Jr. and Commander Pixies the Third in like the subsequent generation since then that I bred Sylveon. But the first time I used Sylveon, I figured out it had this move called Trump Card, which they've since then gotten rid of. But basically, the less PP you have on the move, the stronger it is. And the last time you use it, it has 200 base power. And the 200 base power move boosted by Pixelate and it's special. Oof, it's a nuke. It was like basically a Z move. Crazy, right? You can only use it once, obviously, on that last turn. But, I thought it was still a cool tech. And so I've always loved Sylveon since then. Great special wall. We've got our physical defensive wall in Intimidate Crocodile. But having this with its massive 95 HP, base 130 Spadef, I was like, okay, this is great. And of course, nice Fairy type. Always good to have a Fairy type. Can we use Hyper Beam, Hyper Voice? It can Wish, it can Baton Pass. Do all types of things that we needed to do. It can Yawn. Yawn is great utility as well. So yeah, Sylveon, I've been wanting to use this thing for a while, and because of the new toy syndrome, of course, it's finally gotten to the point where I can use some of these Pokemon. People are overlooking them, and so I'm kind of dipping into the older stuff with this team, but we're going for some throwbacks with this team, just Pokemon that I've wanted to use. So, next up, we have my Generation 7 starter from Usum. I picked Incineroar and Sun and Moon, but Usum I picked Decidueye just to try it out. And it's pretty darn bulky. I mean, well, at least on the special side more so than the Fizz side. But it can hit decently hard on either side on its attack stat and special attack stat. It can Sword Stance, it can Nasty Plot. So I like to have Pokemon that could do multiple things, do whatever I need it to do. I don't want, like I said, I don't want to be stuck into one type of build. So that's this Pokemon fits what I need to do perfectly, and also I figured I need a good spin blocker. One thing I've learned from my Wi-Fi battles, I love to get my hazards up, but then the problem is that I have to risk losing them. And in the past, I've had like Dragapult and Hisuian Typhlosion as my spin blockers, or even like Frostlass, and they're just way too frail. And so I can't lose my spin blocker. I need to be able to keep it around, to have it take some hits. So that's why I've got Decidueye here, to be able to spin block things. So that's great for me. Nice bulky Pokemon. Can Shadow Sneak, Sucker Punch, has a lot of different moves. It can Roost as well. That's great for longevity as a spin blocker. So what's this thing's job is to keep up my hazards. I'm going to show you guys a mon that's going to get up all the hazards in the world. Because right now all we have is Stealth Rock, so we got to get some more. So moving on to our next Pokemon. Speaking of spinning hazards away, I figured I need the king of spinning hazards, a super fast rapid spinner, because I've learned from Toadstool, I mean, it's decently fast, but it's also just 4 times weak to ice, and it's going to get ice sharded or something like that. So, I mean, this thing got ice sharded too, but it's at least not nearly as weak to as many things. It's also a ghost immunity, So you guys can kind of see we don't have any overlaps. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 types already in 7 Pokemon. So this kind of continues along with that. This thing can taunt, it can U-turn, it can obviously rapid spin. It can't shed tail, but you know, it can knock off. It can also shift gear. It could be an attacker if I really wanted it to be. But the most key important thing is, of course, rapid spinning. Obviously, Decidueye can also defog, get rid of hazards, but ideally, I don't want to do that unless I'm not bringing hazards that week, which I don't know why I would. You know, I would always bring them, but you know, maybe I won't one week. Maybe I'll psych you guys out. So that's Cyclizar's role, is the rapid spin. So there's that. Next up, we have our first Terra Captain, Salazzle. Nice, strong, fast fighting type. I mean, it's not too strong, but you know, if it nasty plots up, it can get off some strong hits. Fire types are great Terra Captains because they have strong moves like Overheat and stuff like that, Fire Blast, whatever, that they can just use as a nuke, especially with nasty plot or something like that. But also a nice grounded poison type as well. This doubles as that in case I run into any opposing Pokemon I want to use Toxic Spike. This Mon can also use Toxic Spikes if I wanted it to. I have Ground and Ice is my other Terras, so obviously things like Heatran to hit, Dragon types, or like Landorus or something like that for the, or Gliscor like that with the Ice. Yeah, the Corrosion is great for something like opposing poison types that I might have to deal with, or steel types like Heatran, I guess, you know. So the Corrosion could be great for me if I can poison them that way. And yeah, that's pretty much Salazzle's role. I might test and see if I want to switch up the Terra Captains, because Decidueye and Sylveon are also great Terra Captains. You know, I might, and I also reserve the right to change of the team. I haven't really had a history of honestly making that many transactions. The most I would do is I would just change the Terra Captain. But this time I want to, you know, if they're not performing well, I'm going to swap them out for another Pokemon and actually try to make use of that. But then again, I always stick with the same Pokemon, and I've made playoffs for the last 3 leagues I've been in, so that's pretty solid for me. So that's Salazzle. Let's move on to the next one, which is Oricorio Pom Pom. On the surface, obviously, it's not very strong. But, and honestly, I would have preferred Kilowattrel, but save me a little bit of points here, and I could still have my my Bolt Beam coverage here, as well as ground type coverage for things like Heatran or stuff like that, or opposing electric types. Its speed and special attack aren't that great, like I said, but if we can Quiver Dance up, or if we can come in on a Quiver Dancer, you know, we can come in on something trying to do something, Dragon Dance or whatever. We can get that speed boost from. We can Mirror Herb, stuff like that. Yeah, pretty much like a Volcarona check if we ever run into that. But yeah, that's Oricorio Pom Pom. Another, what's it called? Another one of our Terra Captains. Like I said, I might swap them out. Try to see if we can get Sylveon or Decidueye to be a Terra. Although ideally, Decidueye would be a great Terra Captain, but I don't really want to Terra it because it's my spin blocker. So Sylveon would be more so the preference. So that's Oricorio Pom Pom. Next up, we have Agency Web Spidops. Nice and powerful Agency Webs. Its defenses are half decent. You know, they're not too bad. Its HP is a little bit lacking, but if we invest in it, it can live some hits. Its role obviously is going to be set up webs. It can also set up spikes, T-spikes. It can circle throw. It can do all types of things. It can first impression with the stakeout. It can have insomnia, so it can't be put to sleep. Yeah, pretty much that's Spidops' role. Not gonna lie, I have seen this thing be kind of underwhelming in draft, but I did want to look at my team. I felt like I could really benefit from webs to try to deal with the very fast Pokemon that I don't outspeed. Keldeo under web seems pretty awesome, as well as Iron Crown. And, you know, Crook as well with Moxie could be great. Same with Oricorio or Salazzle. So I feel like my team could really benefit from webs. So I wanted a webs user. Obviously, by this point, we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is the 10th Pokemon. By this time, most people are done. I wanted to get my webs user, and no one drafted Spidops yet, thankfully, so I wanted to get that in. So that's Spidops. Yeah, I don't think we have any overlap at this point, right? So how many types do we have? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So there's one more type, and let's see what the final type Pokemon is. That's right, it's Ice, and we got Cryogonal, people. Let's go. I wanted this for so many draft leagues now. I needed a nice Levitator because we've got quite a few Pokemon weak to ground. And although my electric type is at least also a flying type, you know, so that helps out. And I got a grass type, we got a bug type, but that bug type ain't gonna be living too many hits. But this also serves as an additional excellent rapid spinner. I don't want to obviously be forced to run only one rapid spinner, you know, and I'm probably not going to be going for defog that much on Decidueye, so having the ability to alternate between these two on my team is going to be great for me as well. And this is a solid Pokemon. It's got Freeze Dry. Freeze Dry is always a great option to have for utility, or well, not utility, for facing down those pesky, bulky waters. This thing can get up screens. Obviously, I said it can spin. It doesn't have too much coverage, but you know, that's ice types for you. It's not going to be a Terra Captain. But the most key thing is levitate, and it's decently fast, and it's also not a half bad Spadef wall. So, you know, there's that to pair it with Sylveon. So, there we go. So now, like I said, most people were done. This is freaking round 11. I have all 18 types. Perfect, with no overlaps. But I still had 2 points. And I thought, well, you know what? I should just have at least one Pokemon that can force people to worry about the speed tiers. And I figured, you know, that way that Pult can't necessarily, things like Pult or Monster That Fast will be forced to run max speed perhaps, or things like that. So the next Pokemon we have is Electrode. Not a Suing Electrode, but the regular one. But it might as well be a Suing Electrode because we've got Terra types, Ice, and Grass on this thing. No Fairy, though. A lot of times I like to run Fairy, but I didn't put it on there. This is just for pure offense, whatever I got to hit. If I got to hit a Gastrodon, if I got to hit a Lando, whatever I got to hit, I have it. So, sorry, my throat's getting a little dry. Base 150 speed's massive. You know, I really needed something with a high speed tier. Obviously, it's not that strong. It's only got 80 special attack. But if we slap a Choice Specs on it, if we have some hazards up, then this thing could put in some work. So, obviously, we already have Oricorio as our electric type. This is just kind of like an additional one to kind of be super fast, give me more options, and yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I've never used Electrode in draft. The closest I've used a Suing Electrode in the BBR Summer Scramble, and I did okay. But, you know, maybe this one can avenge it. Maybe it'll do a little bit better. It has soundproof, it has aftermath, things like that. So that could become in clutch. You never know. If you're like me and you forget that your opponent has sound, or well, you underestimate soundproof, or when you're building, and then you try to scout and see if they have soundproof with your Toxtricity, and in fact they do have soundproof, because why wouldn't they run soundproof? Kind of forced Pokemon like that to not be able to do it. Yeah, this is a solid Pokemon. This is the full draft, full Demolition Force. Look at that. We filled up the entire thing. Not very many people. I think only one other person maybe got 12 Pokemon in the Nahan division. So yeah, I'm pretty hyped by this squad that I've got. Like I said though, these guys, they've got to prove their worth. You know, these guys have to prove to me they are worth keeping on the team. You know, we got a big roster, but if you're not putting up numbers, then you might get cut. So that's the team. Like I said, we've got everything we need. We've got hard-hitting special attackers. We got hard-hitting physical attackers. We've got mixed users. We've got a lot of utility, honestly. And yeah, that's going to be it for the draft analysis video for the Demolition Force and the UNPL. We will see you guys in the next one.